Hello, hello, hello. I'll wait a minute and see if anybody comes in. Got a lot to talk about today. I don't know if anybody else is live. While I'm waiting, I will let you know that the people who have influenced me in my channel are allegedly, in my opinion, with BrittneyJ on YouTube. There's a link to her channel in my description. Clutch Them Pearls on YouTube. There's a link to Justin's site in my description. Bullhorn Betty on YouTube. There is a link to her channel in my description. And Silver's on the Scene. There is a link to his channel in my description. Let me show you this right away. I borrowed this from Silver on the Scene. The disclaimer says allegedly, you can't see it, allegedly, in my opinion. Disclaimer, everything you see in this video or hear is alleged, and in my opinion, nothing is a fact. It is all an opinion. Hope you enjoy this video. This is courtesy of Silver's on the Scene. See if I can get my camera back in the right spot. Set it back up here. There we go. And nose itches. Okay, so today I want to talk about, I'll move this over here so I can see. This isn't the one I want. This one is. Let me move this out of the way. I'll drop that down because I don't need it anymore. Okay, well, I'm going to have to read it from over here. Okay, we're going to talk about hello, goodbye. Okay, we're going to talk about Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. He is, let me pull this up a little bigger so I can read it. He's a 15-year-old endangered missing child from the Hendersonville, Tennessee area. Let's look at a timeline leading to his disappearance, and as much as I could get researching today of the timeline. Now, there's more that I'm missing. I know there is. But let's look at the events leading up to the disappearance of Sebastian and also up to today, because I got a new tip this morning while I was researching that I'm hoping somebody can go and check out. But you have to wait because that's like the last thing on the list. Okay, on February 25th, I'm going to call her KP. She's the mother of Sebastian Rogers. She made spaghetti pancakes for Sebastian for breakfast that morning. It was a Sunday morning, and Sebastian called the family to brag about it because that's one of the things he liked to do when he got spaghetti pancakes. Guess what I got? Guess what I got? Mom made spaghetti pancakes. Okay. So they had their breakfast, and he's talking to family on the phone and things. And then, in my opinion, I would presume Miss Poorfoot, KP, I imagine she cleaned up the kitchen and whatever. Near 11 o'clock, the 11 o'clock-ish time, KP gets a call from her sister-in-law. Can you go pick my daughter up at cheer practice and meet me at BJ's and we'll have a shopping day? Okay, so KP and Sebastian go to pick up the KP's niece and meet her mother at, which is KP's sister-in-law, at BJ's where they go shopping. And Sebastian eats a colossal popcorn and they have just a great time. So then after that, they part and everybody goes their separate ways. And KP and Sebastian head home to put away the snacks that Sebastian, being 15, will need for the next week. And during the afternoon, they decide to go play video games at the bowling alley. And I don't know how long they were there because I don't know what time I'm sorry, I have the hiccups. I don't know what time they went to the bowling alley. So around 5:30 that afternoon, Miss Poorfoot and Sebastian head to Texas Roadhouse for supper. Allegedly, some people are saying that Mr. Poorfoot, Sebastian's stepdad, met them at the Texas Roadhouse, but there's no way to confirm that. We haven't seen the video of Sebastian and KP arriving at Texas Roadhouse. So the waitress says that they ate their supper, they got their meal about 6 o'clock-ish. And Sebastian had salmon and vegetables and something, and he ate his entire meal. So they head home around 6:30-ish, and they are seen leaving on video. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office has a video of them leaving and the Texas Roadhouse, and creators are calling that the proof of life video. That's apparently the last time Sebastian was seen in public with his mother. So they get home, which is a 10 to 15 minute drive, allegedly. And KP says Sebastian took the trash out to the curb because that's his chore. Then he goes to his room to play until bedtime. Around 9 o'clock-ish, KP tells Sebastian it's time for bed. She doesn't ever mention that he needs to shower or take his medicine or brush his teeth or do any of the nightly hygiene things that most of us do and most of us tell their teenage kids to do, especially teenage boys, because they don't like personal hygiene. So anyway, so Sebastian comes out and he says, "Good night, Mom, I love you. Good night, puppies," and goes back to his bedroom. So KP calls CP and they begin a phone call that lasts until about midnight, while KP is reading a chapter for a college course that she's doing at DeVry Institute online. And around 10:30 or 11 o'clock, KP hears a thump in Sebastian's room.
Don't let someone preventable for work, at least.
You look better. Did your boss tell you to shave?
No, I'm tired of it. Just non-stop thickness, growing, week after week.
You have to shave every day to keep it down.
How?
Yes. And what are you doing with sideburns? You're not Elvis.
I'll have a boo.
He's singing Blue Christmas.
Keep that in the video. Bye.
Bye. Love you. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, so where are we at? So she hears the thump in Sebastian's bedroom and she yells at him, "I don't care what you're doing, go to bed." Sebastian supposedly, allegedly responds, "I am, Mom." So, anyway, around midnight, CP realizes that KP is dozing off and tells her to lock the dogs up and go to bed. Normally, when CP is not there, the dogs sleep with her. So, why would he want the dogs locked up that night? It doesn't make sense. So, and we've since learned that CP had taken a 4-day weekend from work that week. He did not work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And according to CP, he had been out at the job site in Memphis. Hello, hello, hello. Please say hello so I can recognize you and say hi to you. Okay, goodbye. So, anyway, so apparently he left around February 5th and had not been home since February 5th. Now, I don't know how true that is because, like I said, some creators are suggesting that maybe CP had been home that weekend. And maybe somebody said yesterday, I saw in a video that allegedly an argument broke out between CP and Sebastian, and CP left the Texas Roadhouse early and went back to Memphis. Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't think it is. If he was there, I don't think he left and went back to Memphis. So around midnight, Katie, Mrs. Poorfoot hangs up the phone and goes to bed. Now, why didn't she go in and check on Sebastian? She had heard a thump. Did he fall out of the bed? Was he laying on the floor unconscious? She should have went and checked on him. So, February 26th at 6 a.m., KP went to wake up Sebastian and he wasn't there. She looks around the house for 3 minutes. And then she calls KP, or KP calls CP. Mrs. Poorfoot calls Mr. Poorfoot and allegedly says, "I can't find him." And he says, "What do you mean you can't find him?" Now, why didn't she say, "I can't find Sebastian"? If that was my son and I was calling my husband, I'd have been, "Where's CJ? I can't find CJ." My husband wouldn't know where he is. My husband's a truck driver. He could be anywhere in the country at that time. But anyway, I digress. Why didn't she tell CP that she couldn't find Sebastian? Now, to this day, in any of the interviews, I have never heard KP. I've never heard KP say Sebastian's name. She calls him him. And CP, instead of calling KP by her name, he calls her the mother. That's, to me, in my opinion, that's very disrespectful. If my husband called me the mother of our children, I would just, I don't know what I'd do. I think I'd probably thump him in the arm. Bah! Hey, I'm your wife. CP has said my wife. One time I heard him say that. So anyway, I digress again. We'll go back to the timeline. So about 6:30, or CP tries to calm her down, allegedly, and he's like, "Did you look behind the bed? Did you look in the closet? Did you look here? Did you look in the bathtub?" Things like that. And apparently they look around. He's on the phone with her while she's looking around the house for another 36 minutes. Because at 6:39, CP calls Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Because with him being in Memphis, if he had called 911, he would have gotten the Memphis police and the call had to be transferred to Sumner County and everything. So he just called Sumner County Sheriff's Department because allegedly he has family that works there, and he just called them. I don't know how true that is. So anyway, he calls Sumner County Sheriff's Department. Within 10 minutes, they're at the house. So at 6:50, a neighbor sees CP's mother at a convenience store that is near the high school. And she lives about 2.5 hours away. I forgot what they called that town. Albertville or something. I don't remember the name of the town. But she lives about 2 hours away. And during this time, CP has texted Seth Rogers, who is Sebastian's father, his biological father, and said, "Don't be mad, call me right away." Okay, well, Seth works for the Nashville Sheriff's Department, and he works in the county jail. He cannot take his phone into work. He is on camera all night long. He has shown his time card where he clocked in. He's on camera every time he's supposed to be on camera. There is no possible way he could have made it from Nashville to Hendersonville and back to Nashville in between two time periods that he needed to be on camera. So he was at work all night. His boss even went on an interview. I don't know who he went on the interview with, but he was on an interview, and he did verify that Seth was at work that night and that he did work for the Sheriff's Department in Nashville. So Seth has receipts. Hello, who's in here? Can I say hi to you? Say hello in the chat so I can say hi to you. Please hit the thumbs up or something. So thank you for being here. So anyway, about 7:10, Seth gets off work at the jail in Nashville, and he goes out to his car, and he sees the text from CP. So he calls him back. CP is at work. Now, allegedly, he just found out at 6 o'clock that morning that his stepson had gone missing. He was on the job site at 6:30 when he called Sumner County Sheriff's Department, and he's a high-rise crane operator, and he was working on the St. Jude project in Memphis. And at 7 a.m., he was up in his crane working. And he worked until 11 a.m. that morning when he was relieved of duty. Was he terminated? I don't know. I suspect so because he didn't go back to work in Memphis. So I'm suspecting that he might have got terminated because his actions weren't like normal. He wasn't on point and wasn't on target like he usually was. And being a high-rise crane operator lifting them big steel girders, you have to be right where you're supposed to be, or it's a safety issue for yourself and all the workers down there that's got to set that big I-beam in place. So, yeah, he wasn't doing very well. And we found out later through Silver's on the Scene, who had gone to the job site and had talked to a person at the job site. Silver's on the Scene wouldn't give the person's name because he didn't want that person to get in trouble. But apparently it was a person of authority or something there at the job site. They said that they did not know CP was married. They did not know CP had a stepson until the next day when they heard about it, when CP came to get his camper off of the. It wasn't at the job site. They couldn't park at the job site, but he was at the campgrounds where they pay to park their campers for 2 or 3 months while they're working on a job. So anyway, so Seth calls CP and he says, "Don't be mad, but Sebastian's gone missing." Okay, now CP could have called the Nashville Sheriff's Department and they could have gotten a hold of Seth at 6 o'clock in the morning when Sebastian went missing. Why did he make that man work the rest of his shift and then find out through a text that his son's missing? I don't understand that. Something's not adding up there. It's not a math ain't mathin'. This is YouTube. Please make it make sense. I'm sorry, I can't make it make sense. So anyway, so Seth arrives at KP's house, at the Poorfoot's house, at about 8:30 in the morning, because it takes 30, 45 minutes, something like that. Hello, who's in here? It takes 30, 45 minutes to get to Hendersonville from Nashville. And allegedly, Seth went straight from work to the Poorfoot's home because he wanted to know what's going on. Where's my son? I would have done the same thing. What's going on? Where's my son? Seth took time off from work, approved by his employer, and he has been nonstop searching. I don't know if Seth's gone back to work yet. I would presume he has, but that's just my opinion. I don't know. Because a person can only go so long without working, when you're a single family household. They're a single income household. So Seth arrives at KP's house at 6:30 and the mother-in-law, or 8:30, I'm sorry, and the mother-in-law, Mrs. Dirty Socks, was already there. Now, she lives 2.5 hours away, but remember, she was seen at the convenience store before 6 a.m. before 7 a.m. that morning. And allegedly KP called her and said, "Sebastian's gone, I need you to get here." So she got there really fast. So anyway, about 1:30, CP arrives home from Memphis and tells the media immediately to stop filming his house and to get off of his property. What? Did I read that correctly? Stop filming my house and get off my property? It's not your business that my son's missing? What? Okay. So the TBI comes in, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations comes in, and they search the house and everything. And they put out an endangered child alert for Sebastian, and the search begins. Now they're using horseback and drones, and people are walking on foot through the area, and they're searching the area and everything, and everybody's looking for Sebastian everywhere. So on February 27th, they bring in canine units. And depending on who you talk to, either the units, the dog did not find a scent of Sebastian at all, or they found a scent of Sebastian that led to a nearby construction site in the neighborhood. It's like their house is on this street, and then there's a street behind their house, and then the next street is where the construction site is. So the dogs, they're not able to find a true scent outside of one scent leading to the nearby construction site in the neighborhood. The dogs lose the scent as soon as they get to the construction site. My question is, was Sebastian hidden, buried in the rubbish that was in the dumpster at the construction site? Now we're talking February, so it's cold. You're going to wear your jacket. It's not going to, even if the trash isn't picked up until 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, if Sebastian was unalived and put in that rubbish, he would not have started smelling. There would have been no reason for anybody to check because, construction workers, they throw their trash in the big old roll-off dumpster that's there, and they never think about it again. The trash men come and get the dumpster, carry it off, put a new dumpster down there, and go dump the dumpster. So was Sebastian put in that dumpster? Now, allegedly, CP was heard telling Seth that if he had unalived Sebastian, Sebastian would never be found. Who would think to look in the rubbish of a construction site dumpster? Okay. So on the 29th of February, the retention pond at the construction site was drained. No sign of Sebastian. On March 1st, a $3,000 reward was issued for information leading to the whereabouts of Sebastian Rogers. On 3/2, the reward was raised to $3,500. On the 4th of March, the search was scaled back from a missing child to become an investigation. So we're no longer just a missing child case. We are now an investigation. Foul play? Do you think? I'm thinking that law enforcement is thinking possible, but they're not admitting to it. They're saying, we don't know what we don't know. That's their words. We don't know what we don't know. So CP and KP on the 4th speak with WSMV4 news team, and CP controls the conversation. KP sits quiet most of the time. And CP is heard stating, this is a hopeless roller coaster. Like, he has no hope for Sebastian being found alive. Well, if you were there and you unalived Sebastian and you put him in a roll-off dumpster in a construction site under some rubbish, of course you'd know he wouldn't be found alive. Is this hint number one, clue number one, that CP knows what happened to Sebastian? Is this a clue? Allegedly, in my opinion, it could be. Okay, so on 7/3, authorities searched the landfill in White Plains, Kentucky, because apparently that's where the neighborhood trash, when the trash men come on Mondays and picked trash up, all the trash was taken to White Plains, Kentucky, in that landfill. Now, why was it taken out of state to a landfill? I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, but maybe that's the way they do things in Tennessee. So anyway, and there was only a 1-day search at the landfill. Now, when poor little Quentin went missing, when his mother unalived him and threw him in the dumpster, they did a full week searching for him before they found him. They shut down the landfill and they searched block by block of the area and dug way down until they found the remains of that Quentin Simon. Why didn't they put this much effort into searching for Sebastian? Now, if he went missing on the 26th, we got the 27th, 28th, 29th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. 10 days worth of trash is piled on top of what was dropped that day from Hendersonville subdivision. From that subdivision. There's 10 days worth of trash. Can you go through 10 days worth of trash in one day? If you've got 50, 60 houses out of every truck? It would take longer than that. I don't think they searched thoroughly enough, in my opinion. Okay. So that brings us to March the 10th. CP Mr. Poorfoot, that's not their last name. Some content creators are getting in trouble for mentioning this family's names. Seth wants his son's name out there. Seth is his father. Seth wants it out there. Say his name, Sebastian Rogers. Say his name. So, on the 10th of March, Mr. Poorfoot reveals a fear that Sebastian is unalived. Clue number 2. You think? Allegedly, in my opinion, that's clue number 2. The guilt is beginning to get to him, in my opinion. Okay. Also on the 10th, Seth tells WTVS Channel 5 out of Nashville that Sebastian was not one to wander off, especially without shoes due to a childhood incident where he stepped on a fire ant hill when he was younger. So he wears shoes and socks every time he goes outside now. Now, I know you're not going to find fire ants in February, but still, he doesn't wear shoes. When you're a child that is on the autism spectrum, things have to be done a certain way. You have a routine that you go through, and you don't, most of the time, all of the people that I know, now I'll be honest, I only know one person that is on the autistic spectrum. And he does not leave his bedroom without having his shoes and his boots, or his socks and his boots on. He wears his socks and boots every time I've ever seen him leave his bedroom. And I've been at their house when he got out of bed in the morning. He always has his shoes on before he leaves his bedroom. It's just one of those things that he does. So, excuse me. So, Sebastian says that, or Seth says that Sebastian would not leave the house without his shoes on. And when Seth got to the Poorfoot's home, he noticed that all of Sebastian's shoes were by the door. where they were supposed to be. So Sebastian apparently, allegedly, was not wearing any shoes when he left the house. Now later, 5 or 6 months later, KB states, oh, well, he might have had a pair of slides on that he had in his closet because I can't find those. Okay, now he's not going to wear sandals in February. Sorry. I don't know. At least he had something on his feet. I hope. So on March the 14th, the news team put out a video footage from one of the neighbors' security camera that she stated in another video with another creator that camera had been stuck at 310 for weeks. No matter what time you view the camera, it's always going to say it's 310. So a lot of people, a lot of content creators are stuck on this. The lights were seen at 310. No, we don't know what time the lights were seen because the camera was stuck at 310, the clock on the camera. We just know it was still dark when the lights were seen. And in this video footage, you can see flashlights going through the yards. There's a common area between the yards and the houses in that area. You can see flashlights, one coming from the Porfoot's house, leading between the neighbor's yard to a sedan car that is sitting on the side of the road with its headlights turned off. Then you see another flashlight come into the scene, and they stop and have some kind of an interaction there. And then one flashlight comes towards the car, and another flashlight comes out of the corner from behind the car, and you see them fumbling around on the back side of the car. And then the car backs off and takes away, while the other flashlight turns around and heads back to the Porfoot's home. And if you reanalyze that video, I've seen another content creator that analyzed that video, looking at it at just one section, because the house that you can see had 3 yard lights above the garage. It had 3 garage doors, and it had a floodlight above each garage door. Now, one of the floodlights, you can see shadows in it, and she zoomed it up where you could see it. I could see it on the screen. Now, I don't know if it was the leaves off the tree blowing a little bit in the wind, or if it actually, but it does seriously look like 2 people carrying a third person across the driveway. Is that what we saw? And that was right before the flashlight come out from behind the house. So I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, another neighbor stated that a neighbor had called for an Uber to pick him up and take him to the airport that morning. Okay, my question, with the time being broke on the camera, do we know that the sedan sitting there was not the Uber waiting for the neighbor that came out from what looked like on the little video, came out from behind the car and went up to the car? Was that the neighbor meeting somebody at the car to put Sebastian in the car so that he could take him to the airport for trafficking, human trafficking? That's my question. That's my question. Because if the camera time was broke on that camera, we don't know exactly what time the lights in the backyard video was taken. So it could have all happened. They said that the Uber driver was around 5:30 in the morning. It's still gonna be dead dog dark at 5:30 in the morning in February. No matter how you look at it, it's gonna be dog tired dark. Okay? So that's my theory. That is one of my theories. The second theory I have is that maybe Sebastian was unalived and taken to, maybe the neighbor never did go to the airport for whatever reason. Maybe somebody was waiting. Maybe it was Mr. Dirty Socks was waiting, and CP and Mr. Dirty Socks put Sebastian in the back of that car and took him to a used car salvage lot and put him in a salvage car. That's a theory I have, because I know I used to be friends with somebody down in Arkansas that ran a car salvage lot. You could come get parts off the cars, and when the cars were stripped down pretty good, they put them on a truck and smash them, and then they stack them up. They never look inside the car to see if there's an animal or something in there. So if you want to hide somebody and you don't want that somebody to be found, all the cars at the salvage yard stink. They smell like nasty rotten oil, or the river they were pulled out of, or what. Everything out there stinks. You'd never notice the smell if Sebastian had been in one of those cars and he was put on a truck and smashed, and then another car put on top of him and him hauled off to be recycled. So that's a theory I have. I don't know if it's true. I'm not accusing anybody of having done that. It's just my theory. And I've tried to get people to listen to me, but I haven't heard it be mentioned as being a theory anywhere. So, okay. Now I ran out of time typing, so I got to start looking at the paper. So we're at 3:14. Okay. 3:23. The United Cajun Navy joined the search for Sebastian with canines and drones and all these things. It wasn't long after that, some of the members of the United Cajun Navy were threatened with their lives if they didn't end their search. Allegedly, that's what I heard on another content creator's channel, and I don't know which one it was. I'm sorry. The ones that influence me are the ones I watch. Once in a while, if it says something about Sebastian, I will look at another creator's channel just to see what they're talking about and see if I can learn anything new. So, on 3:23, Mr. and Mrs. Porfoot had 2 separate interviews. I don't know who they had interviews with, but they were being interviewed about the search. I'm presuming it's the United Cajun Navy, and that's when Mr. Porfoot told the Cajun Navy to get out of the area. And then an interview was played on Nancy Grace. I don't know what day it was filmed, but an interview was played on Nancy Grace, and Mr. and Mrs. Porfoot are in a motorhome. They have left the state, and when they're asked why KP left when her son is missing, she says, because he could be anywhere. We've got to search everywhere. Okay, well, it came out just last week or the week before last that somebody remembers seeing them at Ford's Pond around March 23rd, around the middle of March. And it wasn't until after they saw it on a news broadcast, or maybe it was on Nancy Grace or something. I don't know where they saw it. But later they saw a news broadcast about Sebastain, and they put two and two together, and they're like, those are the people that helped me when I was fishing at Ford's Pond. So she contacted people, I'm guessing on a Facebook group. I don't know who she contacted or how she contacted. But anyway, she contacted the right people because the information got to Dog the Bounty Hunter, which I haven't told you yet. In September, Dog the Bounty Hunter joined the search. So, she gets a hold of somebody and says, hey, those are the people that I saw at Ford's Pond in March. And then they saw him at a stoplight in Cottage Grove, which is not very far away from where Ford's Pond is. And they didn't know he was a missing child at the time. So on 9/19, Dog the Bounty Hunter and At Night Investigations joins the search for Sebastain. Their boots on the ground. They're all in. 833-TELL-DOG is where you call to leave a tip. But they're in there. They raised the reward. The FBI came in early March and put a $50,000 reward. I skipped over that part, and I'm sorry. But in early March, the FBI come in and they put out a $50,000 reward for anybody that can help find Sebastain, for any information leading to the whereabouts of Sebastain. So then Dog the Bounty Hunter comes in and he raises it another $50,000, and now it's $100,000. Well, just a few weeks later, tips are pouring into Dog the Bounty Hunter, like daily tips. He said in an interview, 200-300 tips a day are pouring in. And so they raise it to $150,000. And then in October, it was raised up to $175,000, where it currently sits right now. If you have any information about Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, who is possibly in Oregon or near the Canadian border, or possibly in the New York area near the Canadian border, they've got tips about that area of the country as well, and all of the states in between. There are 13 borders across the top of the United States leading into Canada. All of them have been notified about Sebastian Rogers through Dog the Bounty Hunter and At Night Investigations. So, but back in March, when the Porfoots were there, they traveled up with the Dirty Socks, which is CP's mother and stepdad. The Dirty Socks went from Oregon supposedly to Washington and then flew to Alaska. So we don't know if Sebastain went to Alaska with the Dirty Socks. Was Sebastain left in Oregon by the Porfoots, because that's where Katie is. Oops, I'm sorry. That's where Mrs. Porfoot is from. And in December of 2023, before Sebastian ever went missing, Mrs. Porfoot put in a LinkedIn account and said that she lived in Portland, Oregon. So, yeah. So now, up till right now, the latest thing I know. Now, I know I've lost a lot of information between when Dog got there September 19th and now. A lot of the timeline just slows down. The Sumner County Sheriff's Department and the TBI are not letting either side of the family, Mr. Rogers or the Porfoots, know what they are doing in the investigation. They're not letting either side know. Mr. Rogers has been out looking daily, and there's a whole Sebastian's army, hundreds of people that are looking for Sebastian in one way or the other, however they can. There are people looking for Sebastian. The goal here, it's sort of worked its way out to where it's split up. You've got the Porfoot side and you've got Seth's side. And it's like there's a wall between it and the two should not cross. It shouldn't be that way. The people on the Porfoot side should not be saying bad things about people on Seth's side. And people on Seth's side should not be saying bad things about people on the Porfoot side. Because the end goal, it's all about Sebastian. Sebastian's army. It doesn't matter if you're on the Porfoot side or you're on the Rogers side. It's Sebastian. Bring Sebastian home. We've got to get this young man home. He is going to turn 16 on December 7th. Less than a month from now, that baby will be 16. He needs to be home with his daddy. So his daddy wants to celebrate his birthday with him desperately. His daddy wants to celebrate Christmas with him. Now, it was planned that when school was out, Sebastian was going to be moving to live with his dad permanently because the Porfoots were supposed to be getting custody of CP's father from a previous marriage, or daughter from a previous marriage. And it was supposed to be set up that the daughter from the previous marriage wouldn't be at the house at the same time that Sebastian was. Because, hold on just a second. Hello? Hi, how are you? Uh-huh. Okay, I'll go get some this afternoon. Oh, I need to get me some too anyway. Okay. Bye. Sorry, that was my next door neighbor. So anyway, so Seth was supposed to be getting custody of Sebastian, which, in my opinion, is amazing. That's the way it should have been. It should have worked out that way. But there's also other allegations stating that the Porfoots were having marital problems. CP and KP were having marital problems because allegedly CP didn't want anything to do with Sebastian. I heard this morning on a broadcast that it's possible that CP may have told KP, look, you get rid of him or I'm gone permanently. I don't know. And the reason KP might have put her LinkedIn to be Portland, Oregon, could have been because she was planning to move to Portland, Oregon and leave CP. But it could be that she didn't do that because Seth would not allow her to leave with his son and go 2,600 miles away. I don't know. It's just a theory. But now, when CP, let's go back to the interview with Nancy Grace. When CP and KP did that interview with Nancy Grace, they were obviously in a motorhome. Everybody just thought that they were back in Memphis. Were they in Oregon at the time? That's a question that needs to be asked. Were they in Oregon? Oregon, however you say it. Were they there? Okay, now I've been running on at the mouth for almost an hour. Let me tell you what I found today while I was searching this timeline. There's 2 Facebook pages for Sebastain. One of them is a prayer page where people can go on and pray and talk about Sebastain and what have you. And the other one is where they do tips and what do you know? Can you give us a lead? Can you this? They talk about Sebastain on the other spectrum. You know, we're praying over here. We're discussing the case over here. It's those 2 kinds of. Well, I stumbled across one of them. I don't know which one I was because I don't know the names of the 2 different ones. But I found a post that was put up on 11/4. And I'm sorry, I did not write the lady's name down. But she put up a video. And Sandersville Road is a very short distance from the road that the Porfoots live on over there in Hendersonville. So Sandersville Road is just a few streets away, I guess. And she said she took a video of hundreds of buzzards flying around that area right there over Sandersville's Road. To me, I think that's a big lead because buzzards fly where the unalived is. Buzzards are scavengers, and they go to where the unalived is. And there's not going to be hundreds of buzzards for a rabbit or a squirrel or a deer, because rabbits and squirrels and deer die on the side of the highway every day. There's not tons of buzzards. So, in my opinion, is Sebastain on Sandersville Road in Hendersonville, Tennessee? I wish I had the money to drive over there and find out, because I would go today. As you've already seen, my son is old enough that he has a job. So he goes to work every afternoon. He can take care of himself. He's got a freezer full of TV dinners because he'd rather have a TV dinner between coming home from school and going to work than for me to cook a whole meal, which I did tonight. I made kielbasa. Okay, so anyway, please turn on your green porch light so that all the Sebastian Rogers out there whoever they are. If they're away from their parents, they can know to come to the green porch light, and they can know that that's a safe place. They can get a hot bath, they can get a hot meal, and you can call the hotline to get them home. Hot, hot, hot. Let's get it hot with the green porch lights. So remember Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. And thank you for being here. Do something nice for someone, even if it's just make them smile today. You make my heart smile by being here and watching this video. Hit that thumbs up. Share it. Let everybody know about Sebastian Rogers, please. Okay, put a smile on somebody's face today and get locker.